Hey, it's Sarah again. And my last video, the sound didn't work. Bummer. So here I am. I had a practice run. Here I am saying it all again. And practice makes perfect. I know, we know that. But hey, what about energy healing, intention, love, all of those intercessory prayers that we send to people when they're sick? Where is the science that backs up the positive effects of that? And probably like me, you know that this stuff works, but where is the science? So I did some research, and I already knew that the Healing Touch Program website had a lot of articles, and boy, they have a page of articles with links to multiple different data and research that has been done about energy work. I also found the website noetic.com that had some very interesting articles on multiple different things. It's really hard to research something that's not linear. But those of us with a sciencey mind like to know how things work. And the third place I found some articles was on lynnmctaggart.com. She's the author of The Intention Experiment and the Power of 8, and she has done global experiments, people around the world sending intention to specific things. So there were 3 articles I want to tell you about. There are more, but just for today. So the first article is this from a nursing school, and it looked at how if healing touch would affect the anxiety level of junior nurses when they took a test. And so they had some junior nurses receive a healing touch session, they had some junior nurses not receive a session, and they all took a test. And what they found was the nurses that didn't receive a healing touch session, which is an energy healing and balancing, had elevated levels of anxiety after the test. And the students that received the healing touch session had lowered levels of anxiety after the test. And if you've ever taken a test, you know that's pretty significant. And so the students reported feeling anxious as they applied for the information. And so it was generalized anxiety as well as specifically around taking an exam. The statistically significant reduction in the trait anxiety scores may be attributed to the effects of healing touch. And so, you know, when you read these articles, they always say, more study would be advised. So let's do more study. The second research that I wanted to tell you about was found in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine. And it's on the effects of distant healing. Now, this can mind boggle people no end, to think that you can be somewhere else and receive a healing is just as effective as if you were in person with someone. And so what they did was they had 2 people, and they did this multiple times, but they had the first person who was focusing on a candle. They had the second person in another location, in a distant location. And the other person, the second person, was either the control or the helper. The control had their own thoughts, they weren't paying attention to anything. The helper was helping the first person. And this is how it worked. The first person was focusing on their candle. When they felt their mind wandering, they pressed a button. The second person could tell when that button was pressed. They would then focus their attention on their object to assist the first person. What they found was that when the first person was helped by the helper, and they didn't know whether they were being helped or not, they pressed their button way less frequently than the person that didn't have the help. the hypothesis of the positive effect of benevolent intentions is supported by the data presented. So that's intention. Now you could say that at a basic level, psychic healing is based in intention. And I don't know how you define psychic healing. My definition is that you work within your own energy field to affect a change for somewhere else, for someone or for something. And so this article that I want to tell you about is found on the Lynn McTaggart website. And she's a pioneer in the field of intention experiments. She's shown that the group mind is capable of changing the basic physical property of leaves, making plants grow up to twice as high as normal, altering the molecular cluster structure of tap water, raising the pH of polluted water. And so one of the water experiments is what I want to talk about. In the first water experiment, Dr. Korotkov had developed a way of measuring the amount of light that water emits. He hooked his test tube of distilled water up to his machinery. The experiment was 1,500 people from around the globe sent intention to the water, and they were able to measure the amount of light being emitted. Now, about a third of the people were experienced in intention setting and meditating. The rest were relatively new to this way of holding focus. And what they found, I have here the first graph. This is the time, I think they had about 6 minutes. They found that there was significant difference in the light emitted from the water, but when they looked at kind of the length of time, it kind of evened out. So there was a difference, but it wasn't a really significant difference. So what they did was they did a second experiment, and instead of using the big group of helpers, meditators, to send intention, they used a guy, I don't think I have his name, but a healer who was practiced, who meditated regularly and was able to change the frequency of his energy. So as he raised the frequency of his energy and sent intention to the water, this is what happened. So here's the top graph. I don't know if you can see that, but in the bottom, and they did it for a longer period of time. Look at the graph here, where the changes in the water were really, really significant. And so that's exciting on so many levels. One, that yes, doing something from a distance with intention, even if you're not a trained healer, has an effect. Your prayers, of course, they have an effect. But more significantly, if you are a trained healer, if you work diligently every day to raise your frequency, and you know how to change your energy when you're in a healing situation, the effects are so much greater. And that just blew me away. I was like, what? That's one guy? I can do that. I want someone to hook me up. That just makes my heart happy. The conclusion was in their study was that the more experienced the intender or healer, the greater the effects will be. So the takeaway from that is everything you do with a positive intention has an effect, has a positive effect. Keep doing it. And if you get energy healing, if you want to get energy healing, just go for it. Choose someone that's experienced, because the effects will be greater. And you can't go wrong. With energy, when the intention is pure and comes from love, you can't go wrong. So tell me what you think of those, that information, those research papers. Tell me what your experience is of either receiving in positive intention prayer, giving, or if you've been to see an energy healer, how that has been. Let's just geek out on the science of it. Anyway, have a great day. See you soon.